much for taking out time out of your busy schedule to be here today for our very first health seminar in the community. We've been here for about 6 months now, and we want it to be a blessing to the community. That is why we're doing this health program. I want to start with a word of prayer. Shall we pray? Father, we thank you this afternoon for how far you have brought us. We pray that everything that we're going to do here today, my God, will glorify you. For your word says that for lack of knowledge, my people perish. And so this afternoon, we are here to learn, we are here to understand, and we are here to grow in any area of our life that we are lacking. We pray that you will give us that spirit and heart of understanding so that we will be able to understand what we are going to be taught today. This we ask in your wonderful name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. So here at ManifestCh, we believe that God has put greatness in each and every one of us. And we also know that before your greatness can be unleashed or be released, you need to be healthy. You cannot release your greatness in an unhealthy body. If your body decides to shut down when you wake up in the morning, then you will not be able to do what you have planned to do in that day, right? And so we want to come here today and learn about some of the things or some of the ailments that can prevent us from really living that full life that God has created each and every one to live. So this afternoon, we are here to learn. We're here to just grow, and we are here so that we can be deployed to do what we have been called to do. So without further ado, I'm going to invite our very own medical director. She is a physician in Piedmont Fayette Emergency Department, and her name is Dr. Maxine Owusu Ejapon. I'm going to be inviting her. Let's give her a clap. She is the brain behind today. She saw the need to do this for the community because many of us have lost parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters because we didn't know some of these things. And we are refusing not to know anymore because we want to live and live life to the fullest according to the plan of God. So this afternoon, Dr. Maxine Owusu.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. And as Pastor Nana said, my name is Dr. Maxine Owusu. And I'm just excited for you guys all. And I believe that the topics that we're going to be talking about today are very important, especially within the Black and Brown community. So I'm going to just give a brief kind of itinerary of what to expect. So we're going to be having a panel discussion, and the topics will be around hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol. And then once we're done with that, there will be questions from guests. And then after that, we have some vendors in the foyer where I would love for you guys to go interact, find out what they're about. And then in the back, in the fellowship hall, we have the free screenings for blood pressure, glucose, and we also have some free items, as well as information in terms of free clinics and just information on hypertension and things of that nature. So I'm going to be introducing our moderator today. His name is David Johnson. So David Johnson serves as one of the welcome leaders and coordinators for the youth here at ManifestCh. He completed his bachelor's degree at Valdosta State University in sociology with a minor in philosophy, and then completed his master's of science for rehabilitation counseling at Mercer University. He became a certified professional coach in 2017 and started his own company called Collab Coaching. And he currently works as a senior level clinical research and consultant. So David, you can come up. And then next we'll be having Dr. Asiama McMillan. So she's a compassionate family medicine physician dedicated to providing comprehensive primary care to physicians of all ages in Mora, Georgia, with a focus on preventative medicine and health promotion. She emphasizes building long-term relationships with patients and their families to address their healthcare needs over time. She graduated from New York Medical College in Valhalla, New York, and went to Augusta University for family medical residency. She currently works at GenCare Senior Center in Morrow, working with underserved geriatric population. She's married and with a beautiful baby. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. And our next speaker is Ms. Precious Hooks. She's a board-certified family nurse practitioner by the American Nurses Credentialing Center. She also has her Doctor of Nursing practice from South Alabama University, a Master of Science in Nursing from Maryville University, and a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from the University of Texas at Arlington. She has a subspecialty certification in nursing education. Ms. Precious is also a U.S. Navy veteran. Precious is passionate about teaching and utilizing a preventative, holistic approach with her patients. So thank you for joining us today. And last but not least is our very own Eileen Neza, is a board-certified family nurse practitioner, recognized by the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Stony Brook University in Long Island, New York, and her Master of Science as a family nurse practitioner from SUNY Downstate in Brooklyn. Currently, Ms. Neza brings her expertise to Walmart Health, where she serves as a dedicated nurse practitioner. And in addition, she started her own business as a thriving medical spa in Fayetteville, Georgia. So thank you. All right, so just be attentive. I think, as I said, we're here to learn, and if you have any questions, save the questions for the end, and then just happy learning.
Thank you, Dr. Maxine. As we get started, can we give another round of applause for all the women in medicine, all the women in medicine. You know, I'm in a panel with all the women. That's amazing, that's amazing. All right, so to get started, we're gonna talk about hypertension. I have been diagnosed with hypertension myself, and you know, it runs in families, and we all have someone that we know with high blood pressure. So the first question I have for you is, what are the most common causes of hypertension, and how can they be prevented? So what are the most common causes of hypertension, and how can they be prevented? Anyone is open to answer, and or if all three of you have answers, please do share.
Hello? Okay. Morning. So the most common causes of hypertension is based mostly on our diet. So increased salt intake, that can cause that. Other causes could be lifestyle. So for instance, stress. Stress can cause it. But aside from that, there are other causes such as different tumors like adrenal adenomas and other diseases such as obstructive sleep apnea.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else have? Yes.
Another cause is hereditary. So especially in the brown, in the black community, hereditary. A lot of times, if grandma, granddad, mom, dad, 9 times out of 10, you're likely to have hypertension as well.
Thank you for sharing.
Covered it all.
Okay. So my next question when it comes to hypertension is, what lifestyle changes can significantly impact blood pressure levels? So what lifestyle changes can significantly impact the blood pressure levels?
So I believe Dr. McMillan kind of discussed that in regards to your diet intake, especially the salt intake. So some people are very sensitive to salt. People who know they have high blood pressure, sometimes as soon as they eat salt, they feel their pressure go up, or they have symptoms of like headaches, blurry vision, or something like that. Most of the time, we tell our patients that daily exercise is very important. We should be incorporating daily exercise into our routine. Ideally, at least 30 minutes a day, but getting your heart rate up, doing something that actually, you feel like you're actually putting out energy, not just walking around at work because that's regular, but actually actively trying to work out.
Okay, I think you answered it right. So just to piggyback on that question, What do you say to those patients that are very stubborn when it comes to hypertension? You know, a lot of people, especially you may know someone as well that, you know, yeah, they have medication, but they won't take it. Or, yeah, you tell them to exercise, but they won't exercise. How do you deal with those type of patients?
Be honest. Like, you know, I'm straightforward with all of my patients. So, a lot of our patient population has been people that look like me. So that gives me an opportunity to be like, you know, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. You know, it's, I mean, you know, a lot of people are in denial, and it is in our culture, and it's in the culture because of things that have occurred in the past. So with all those experiments that, you know, people of color blacks were being used for, like a lot of people are aware of the Tuskegee experiment with the syphilis, you know, not giving them the vaccine. So people are fearful of, and they don't trust, you know, and so, and they've heard it a lot and things of that nature, but they take it for granted. So you just have to be honest with them, you know. You have to let them know, look, I understand, and, you know, kind of give them some grace and let them know that, you know, this has been going on for a while. It's not going to just disappear overnight. But you give them grace and you try to work with them. So listening is so important because they're going to tell you why they're not doing it or why they feel the way that they feel. And then for many of them, they want to do what they, you know, they want to use herbs or things of that nature. They'll try any other route than just take the medication route. Give them a shot, you know. I give them a shot, and I'll say, okay, we'll go with that. But also having them monitor their own blood pressure so they can see what's going on. Give them the numbers. Hey, if your blood pressure is greater than 140/90, this is not good. Or like she said, if they're experiencing headaches, if they're blurred vision, you know, being dizzy, a lot of people swell up when they eat too much salt. So just having them know, educating is so important. So you educate them, and when they see it for themselves, they tend to do better.
Thank you for sharing that. And those are a lot of nuggets that hopefully our guests are taking in as well. And with each category, please, as the guests, please think of ideas and some questions that you may have. We're going to have a question and answer session after we're done with the questions for the panel. All right. So I think we talked about most of these stuff when it comes to hypertension. So next topic, we're going to talk about diabetes. So what are the early signs and symptoms of diabetes that people should be aware of? So what are the early signs and symptoms of diabetes that people should be aware of?
So there's a lot of different signs that patients can get if they do have diabetes or even pre-diabetes. So they can have increased urinary frequency as well as urgency. They can have a lot of thirst, even if they drink lots of water. And then sometimes they can even have skin changes at the back of their neck where it looks a little bit rougher and a little bit thicker than it should be.
I didn't know that. Yes.
I've noticed with some of my patients, some people can tend to have paresthesias, which is like you get a lot of numbness and tingling in your extremities, like your fingers or your toes. Females in particular, sometimes they can get recurrent yeast infections and they don't understand why. And then they realize that they have diabetes. So that could be for females in particular, like a symptom that they get all the time. They don't understand why, and that could be due to having diabetes.
Wow. Next question is, how does diabetes affect other parts of the body, and what complications can arise? I know you briefly talked about, you know, for women, yeast infections, but what are some other parts of the bodies that gets the complications of diabetes?
Your vision.
Vision.
A lot of people develop glaucoma. Sometimes they just get blurred vision and they don't know why because they can't see anymore. She mentioned the paresthesia, where the numbness and the tingling of the fingers and the toes. We've had many patients that didn't even know they were diabetic. So diabetics are slow healers. So if they don't know, it affects the circulation in your blood, right? So if your circulation isn't adequate enough, you know, so you're not getting circulation down here to your lower extremities or your upper extremities, you can lose a digit. Like they can have the numbness where they can't feel anything. And say, for instance, if somebody broke a glass and there's a piece of glass on the ground, you stepped on it, you didn't know you stepped on it, and now infection is starting to set in and things of that nature. By the time you realize it, you could probably end up with an amputation. So diabetes is very, very, very serious. It affects a lot of things. Everything. It does.
Like your kidneys, as she said, circulation, heart disease. Like you can have strokes, due to that. Just so many different things.
Wow. So just a question from me. You see a lot of association between diabetes and amputation. How common is that?
If you're not being treated, it's all about the person. And, 'cause like I said, a lot of people don't like to go into the doctor. A lot of people like to self-medicate. They tend to think, oh, I'm having this because of this. So if I do this is going to make it work and it's going to get better. And so maybe it'll subside for a little bit and then they'll continue to go on ignoring it. And the true actuality is it's getting worse. So if you're not getting it treated in time, then the prognosis is not good. That's what happens most of the time.
Wow. All right, next question is, what are the best dietary practices for managing blood sugar levels in diabetics?
I would definitely say it really is monitoring your carbohydrate intake. So your carbohydrates, right? Essentially, that breaks down into sugar, right? And that's mainly like your white carbohydrates. So I always tell your whites: white bread, white rice, white potatoes. Basically anything is white. And it's a carbohydrate. It's basically not ideal for you. You should be doing like whole wheat, or is better. But a lot of people, like the grits, oh Lord, the grits. That's really helps people. That is the worst with the diabetes. But ideally, if you stay away from those foods, right, or at least decrease your intake, because I'm realistic as well with my patients. I don't expect overnight change. I expect for you to try to implement small changes in order to really get like a long-term goal, right? So trying to decrease your intake of these things so therefore your sugars could come down appropriately. And also trying to at least check your sugars once a day, right? Some people don't want to check it at all, but at least once a day is ideal, especially if you know you're diabetic or even pre-diabetic on the cusp, because you should gauge where you're at. Those carbohydrates can really cause the sugars to go up.
So just to piggyback on what you said, I love that. A good website that I also recommend all my patients that are diabetics is the American Diabetes Association. That is made for you if you're a diabetic. There's the diabetic plate method that you can follow. There are different recipes on there on what to eat and not what to eat, the portions, calories, all of those things. So I usually recommend them to go on ahead. It's free. Usually nothing is free in this world, but that is free. So I definitely also add that as well.
Awesome. I know it's difficult to let go of the pastas, the rices, the grits and cheese, all the Southern classics. I know it's not easy, but especially if you're diabetic, I know it's needed. So next question is, how can individuals reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes? Because, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but there's 2 types of diabetes, but specifically type 2 diabetes.
Like we've been saying, diet and exercise. Usually the diet, it plays such a role. Social media has such an impact on people now where they think being morbidly obese is okay. And that's not okay, because that is one of the risk factors, of developing not only diabetes, but heart disease, hypertension. And so diet and exercise is everything. And just making sure that, that's a part of it's a lifestyle change. So you do it every day. It's just like they said, if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit.
And I know we just talked about type 2 diabetes, but can one of you ladies share the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes? Because it may be confusing to our guests or people who just don't know what the type of diabetes are.
Okay, so type 1 is more insulin dependent. Usually a lot of type 1s are diagnosed early when they're young. Usually you see kids first that they're type 1s, but adults can become type 1 diabetics as well. It's just probably because due to poor control. But so usually when you say the difference between the two is a type 1 diabetic has to have insulin. Okay, type 2 diabetic, like we said before, is diet and exercise. And not saying that you can't be on insulin, because if you're not, following that proper diet and proper exercise, and even if you are placed on pills, and if you're not taking them correctly, or if you're taking the pills like some people like to do, they'll take the pills but still eat what they want, and so you can mess, now you're messing with your pancreas because it's confused, and so it's not regulating you like it should. So then you can also be placed on insulin because of that. But usually, if you want to distinguish between the two, a type 1 diabetic is usually always insulin. They're insulin dependent.
Thank you for the knowledge. Appreciate it. All right, so now we go into the final category, which is cholesterol. So the first question is, what is the difference between good and bad cholesterol, and why is the distinction important?
So for your cholesterols, right, you have your HDLs, which are your good cholesterol. Your triglycerides are in there as well, your fatty acids, and then your LDLs, which are the bad cholesterol. The LDLs, that's what we mainly look at when we see high cholesterol in our patients. That is what causes the buildup of plaque in your arteries and vessels that could cause strokes if that fat plaque breaks off. HDLs, you need that in your body because essentially the HDLs help fight the LDLs, the bad cholesterol. So you want a good amount of HDLs in your body, so therefore you can help decrease the bad cholesterol.
Very, very well said. And now we know there's a fight in our bodies that we don't know about. You got to remember that. All right. So question number 2, how can dietary choices impact cholesterol levels? Like the things that you eat, the things that you don't eat. How does that affect cholesterol?
It affects everything, all the 3 diseases. So the biggest thing with cholesterol is just the amount of fried food, fatty foods that you're eating, not eating enough vegetables as well, so making sure that you're having a well-balanced diet. And I know we've all been taught that, but we don't always follow it. Half of the time we're busy, we have to go here, there, and the third, and so we eat whatever, we go to a fast food restaurant, and so it's just essentially quitting that if you can. But realistically, that's not practical for a lot of people, but maybe trying to find a balance within that.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And I would add to that, like, for me, like, I always tell my patients, those fried butters, like, all that, like, the fat on the extra of your steak, on the bacon, those things can attribute to high cholesterol. And certain foods itself, like, I always tell patients, like, shrimp. Like, shrimp is very high in cholesterol. People don't realize it. They think, like, oh, it has to be fried. Like, no, shrimp itself is very high in cholesterol. As well as if you eat a lot of eggs, because the egg yolk is very high in cholesterol. If you eat, like, people who have, like athletes who work out a lot, they eat a lot of, or keto, they want to just do a lot of protein. That can cause your cholesterol to go up, and they don't realize that. So I always try to tell people to substitute. If you feel like you have to have something fried, like I would say, if you have an air fryer, that's best. So you don't actually have to add any like oil to fry anything. Just air fry it. That's ideal. If you feel like you really want something that's fried or something.
That's a good tip. I mean, air fryers are very popular now. So yeah, and now they're cheap as well. So air fryer is a good alternative. Okay. Next question is, how does statins and other cholesterol-lowering medications work? Yes. How does the cholesterol medicine that's prescribed to you work? What does it target directly?
So it's targeting pretty much those LDLs. Okay, it's lowering that fat. Same thing like with insulin. Oh, I'm sorry. But it's the same. That's what it's lowering. It's lowering your LDL. So usually, when someone is on a statin, you start seeing their LDLs come down. The goal is also to see their HDLs come up. We're talking more about the diet, but the exercise plays a role. Because you have to think about this is affecting your heart, right? And so, like she was saying, you want to get your heart up and pumping and moving because you're thinking about blood moving through. So if you have blockage, which is what happens when there's too much fat and then it builds up in your, in those blood vessels. Now something is blocking it. I give my patients a description so they'll understand. Like she said, layman's terms, I'll say, picture a straw, right? So I have a straw and I'm pouring some hot melted cheese in the straw, right? What happens with cheese when it gets cold?
It hardens up.
It hardens. So it's hardening, and now the blood is trying to get through there, but it can't, right? So it's because now you have all these what they call plaques that's built up around it. And so that's the goal. So you want to keep your blood flowing. You want to try to keep the blockages out by watching what you're eating. And so all of these things kind of work, we're like a machine. So you depend on certain things in order for you to move and go every day. And so the exercise is, it's everything because it's keeping that heart pumping, it's keeping that blood flowing. So that's the reason why these things, diet and exercise is what you're going to continue to hear. And, we take it lightly, but, there's no secret. That's the blueprint, is diet and exercise.
Yeah, awesome. I guess the very last question is, just like hypertension, just like diabetes, what's going to happen if we don't treat high cholesterol in our bodies? What are some of like the names of the diagnoses that you get or the symptoms that you may have? Like what happens when you just don't treat high cholesterol? Because there's a lot of fried food places around here, a lot of fried chicken places, chicken wings. You could get them on every block. So what's going to happen if we just don't treat high cholesterol?
I think we talked about it. Essentially, it's everything that we talked about. So you can get a stroke, you can get a heart attack, you can get coronary artery disease, like what she was saying, when you have that plaque there build up. So for example, a stroke, the signs of that can be facial droop, can be weakness on one side, changes in your vision, even headaches sometimes. For coronary artery disease, you can have some chest pain with that. Heart attack, the same thing. And even for females, heart attack actually presents differently. So sometimes you can even have nausea, you can have vomiting as well. So those are some of the symptoms of the different things.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Everybody has to. Yes. Nobody wants to talk about it, but at the end of the day, you can die. That's just what it is. If it's not treated, if you're not trying to take care of yourself, you just kind of writing your ticket. So, but you have to be honest and say that you can die. So that's how serious it is. Some people can have a heart attack and still survive, but some people don't make it. And you just have to be realistic about, this is what it is. This is your body, so you have to take care of it. It's like a car, you got to take care of it in order for it to keep driving.
All right, so those are all the questions I have. Any final thoughts, any things that you want to share with the community, maybe some lesson learns with your patients and stuff, any final things?
Well, I do want to say that it's very important that each one of us have a primary care provider, okay? Please, please, please. A lot of us neglect that, but that's very important because a lot of these diseases that are out there are preventable. Diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, we can prevent it. We can prevent heart attacks, we can prevent strokes, we can prevent coronary artery disease, but we gotta go to our providers. Please, please, please.
All right, yes.
Let me just say this. A lot of people don't go to the doctor too is because of cost. And cost now is so much better, for you to just have an annual physical. If you can't do anything else, go get an annual physical and always have your blood work drawn. So that way you can just kind of have an idea where you are. Prevention is everything. So you want to prevent and not wait till it gets really, really bad and then now, it might be too late. So don't look at the cost because this is what I tell patients when they come in and if I'm telling them, hey, I need to get this blood work and they're like, how much is it going to cost? I look at their shoes. How much did you pay for those shoes? You know what I'm saying? How much did you pay for that purse? How much did you pay for that hairdo? So you have to, yes, and your nails. So we have to learn how to prioritize. We can make ourselves look so beautiful, but we could be dying within. So you have to, what is your priority, So take care of yourself. And then that's all you got to do. One time, go in at least once a year to get your blood work done. And just make sure that you're just taking care, you're seeing about yourself. Because, people put money, they invest in what's important to them. So I would hope that everyone, that you're important to yourselves, so invest in yourselves.
Any final thoughts?
Said it beautifully. That is very true. I wholeheartedly agree.
Awesome, awesome. So that ends the panel, and now we'll go to Q&A. Anybody have any questions in the audience? Any questions?
Thank you so much. What role does stress play in all these diseases that you guys have talked about today?
Stress is very real. I don't negate stress out in regards to like blood pressure or anything like that, because for the most part, when you're under high stress, your adrenaline is up. And with all, you have hormones and everything being released, and that as well can cause your blood pressure to go up, right? And let's say if you have high cholesterol as well, right? That plaque in that hard plaque in that straw and that which is your vessel and it's getting tighter and tighter, can affect your blood flow, which can cause strokes or a heart attack and stuff. So people think that, I'm stressed every day, something's going on. I always tell my patients, like, you have to find a way to mitigate. You have to find a way to release that stress or do something, because it could also kill you.
Thank you. Anybody? Okay, go ahead.
What I have seen in my practice in the emergency department is that there will be people that have high blood pressure, they take their medication, and they feel like it's fine, and then they just stop taking it. And then they come to the ER and they get a stroke. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important to continuously take your medication, number one? And number two, if you feel like your pressure is probably normalizing, what should you do first instead of just stop taking it on your own?
That's something, oh my God, that's like a everyday battle. So, because some people think that, hey, once they don't get it, that this is a lifetime commitment, pretty much. And it's according to what stage that you know, captured the hypertension, right? And so, yes, you want to continue to tell them the importance of taking their medication. You have to make them understand that this is not a one-time deal. Follow-up is everything, right? So a lot of times, if I have a newly diagnosed hypertensive patient, I give them 4 weeks, because first I need to know that the medication is working. I'm also asking them if they can monitor their blood pressures at home and keep a log, right? Because we want to make sure that you're being covered. So if you're taking that medication in the morning, is that covering you in the afternoon, in the evening? We want to make sure that medicine is covering you all day. And we want to see how your blood pressures are fluctuating. So, you know, are you someone who gets high in the morning and, you know, low at night, or vice versa? So you want to make sure you explain to them, number one, side effects, because yes, some of them do have side effects. And I will tell you, men, black men, they have a problem, because you know now, like I said, social media, so word is on the street, right, about what blood pressure medication can do. But there is, but there is an algorithm that we do follow, where we try to give you the one that gives you the least of those side effects, right? So most men are worried about libido, right? And so that's the biggest thing. They're worried about if they're gonna be able to perform. And so there are medications that they do have some that can cause that. But this is what I tell them. If you don't treat this, you're gonna end up having that problem anyway. So you're gonna have to treat the problem, and then you're gonna have to work towards that. So, because you can be taking the medication and you can continue to, if you start eating right, your diet, your exercise, you can increase your libido, right? So you can reverse that effect, because they're so worried about that. But at the end of the day, as the black woman, we want you to live. And so, yes, there's the right. If you're not here anymore, there's no libido, there's nothing. So we want you to live. So we, tell you to continue to take that medication. Come back for your follow-up appointment. If you do get to the point where you do feel like, I've been doing great all this time, and you want to get off, talk to your provider first. Don't just stop taking your medication. Because some certain medications you don't want to just abruptly stop anyway, right? So go back, see your doctor. You can come up with a plan where maybe they'll start in half in the dose, and then try to, and see how you do with that, and then keep weaning you down, not just take you off completely and then continues to monitor you, and you would need to continue to monitor yourself. So, but it's so important that when you put on the medication, that's the reason why it's working, because what you were doing wasn't working. And if what you were doing wasn't working, now it requires you to be on medication. So if you want to get to that point, you're going to have to work hard, but then we also have to be realistic. Sometimes this might just be your journey, okay? So it's like either have life and continue just to take this one pill, or, you know, hopefully it's one pill. Sometimes it's a little bit more. It's just according to what's going on. But, you know, but it's just keeping you here, all right? And trying to be as healthy as you can be by controlling your blood pressure and keeping it at bay.
Any other questions? Thank you for answering that. You would give a very detailed answer. I appreciate that. Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
I have two questions. My first question is, how can you advise us and the people who will be watching the video in the future? My question is regarding the standpoint of functional medicine. I haven't heard that aspect of these topics being touched. That's my first question. My second question is that I've heard you talk about the risk factors involved with these three types of diseases, but my question is, how can we take awareness to the community? Because I hear you saying that they come to you, but what about the people in the community who cannot come to you for whatever reasons? Whether it's financial, they don't drive, they are shut-ins, whatever the reasons are. Are there organizations out there that can take this information into the inner city, into the community, the rural areas? Or are you yourselves involved in that type of organization? Or do you have that plan in mind for something for the future?
It's a lot of questions. So whichever one you want to answer first, yes.
I'm not against functional medicine. I'm not against holistic medication, or holistic medicine. I still think that you need a primary care to monitor you on the opposite end to make sure that you know, that you're at least get blood work and just make sure your levels are at bay. I'm never against it if it works, okay? So, but, you know, because some people, they'll go on this whole journey of that, but somebody needs to be monitoring you. You still want to be monitored, because what's the purpose of doing something that's holistic or functional and you don't know if it's working? You might feel better, but what do your numbers look like? Okay, is it coming down? Is it staying at a certain, you know, is it staying at a comfort, you know, level that you and your provider are okay with? You know, that just may be your number. But if it starts shooting up and things like that and it's getting out of whack, then you want to make sure that you catch that, right? So I'm not against that. I'm not against people trying other methods first. Like I said, I'm all about giving you grace, and because this is new. You know, when you find out someone gives you a diagnosis, you know, first it hits you like a ton of bricks because you didn't know. And then it takes you a minute to process that. But then also there's the reality side of it. This is here, you know. So, you know, I'll give you your minute to do whatever it is, and then we come back and we reevaluate and see if that's working for you. Everybody is on an individualized plan, you know. Every person that comes to you, you know, they're not all going to be the same, okay? As far as you talking about going out in the community, that's crazy, because I was just talking to Eileen about I'm so trying to be mobile, right? Because there is a need. I have a little PRN job that I've been doing since February, where I go to different people's homes. So, but this is through insurance. So if they have certain insurances, I know Humana is one of them. And I go out and I just do assessments. And I take this tablet and I'm checking off, boom, 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 but I'm going into the comfort of people's homes. But what I did notice was, you know, they say that, you know, time repeats itself, right? And so it looks like we're going into that era of people starting to get care in the homes again. Because one thing I noted that I'm doing these assessments, but then through the little tablet, it'll ask me if certain patients, it'll say, ask them if they would like to have their primary care come to their home. So it's like we're reverting, we're going back into that time. So there are people out there now that are actually receiving their care where people are going into the homes or whatnot. And it would be a nice thing. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that's kind of scary because people today are not as trustworthy. It is a walk out on faith. My husband does not like me doing it. So, but because I do enjoy it, because when you're talking to people in the comfort of their homes, yeah, they're a lot more open, and you get to, you know, really get to talk to them and educate them and things of that nature. So those things are happening, and you know, it's not as easy as it might appear to be, but there is a need, and I think those needs are starting to be addressed at the, it's coming back full circle.
Awesome. Was your questions answered? Pass. Yeah. Okay. And any other questions? Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, what to do if a person that does have hypertension, that's taking their medication, well, taking more than one medication, but their blood pressure still high? Physician, they just keep giving them crap pills.
So the question was, what do you do when somebody has hypertension and they take more than one high blood pressure medication and it's still not working? Is that the question? Okay. Yeah.
Well, are they doing the other things? I always ask them, are they exercising? Are they eating salt? And then I always also think about other causes. So we talked about diet, lifestyle, but also remember there are different reasons like obstructive sleep apnea, adrenal adenoma. So my other rule actually is if it's more than 3 medications, you have to look at other causes. So then that's what the blood work also plays in, getting a detailed history as well as physical exam, as well as history, family history as well. So the biggest thing is really trying to build that trust. So between patient and provider. So if you do not trust your provider, find you a new one, okay? They should be listening to you. So if you feel like you're doing the right things, you're exercising, you're eating right, you're not stressed out, you're finding ways to relieve that stress, and it's not working, and you're telling them and they're not doing anything, you gotta find you a new one, please, okay? Because that should not be the case. You should at least see some change, at least some blood work being done, some explanations, but if not, you have to move on.
And I think that's very powerful because sometimes we choose one doctor and we think we have to stick with the one doctor, but in reality, if the doctor's not serving you or you feel like the doctor's just taking your money to make money, please find a new doctor. Please find a new health care professional. Any other questions?
Well, I was gonna say,
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So I also want to say, be honest with your provider. You know, we're you know, it's a lot of blame game on the provider, but you are responsible for your care. And so it's like, so take ownership. If you come in there and you're like, I'm taking all these pills, it's not doing anything, but you know you're not out there exercising, you know you're not out there eating the right diet, take some accountability. Because if I'm looking at, we take your weight, we're always looking at your weight and things of that nature, those basic things, if I'm seeing that your weight is going up, that's telling me you may not be doing what you're telling me that you're doing. So it's not always that person. It might be whatever your own issue is. And so just be honest with yourself and also be honest with the provider because, I mean, I'm sorry, we know the difference when you come in. You know, we see the difference, especially if you're somebody, if you're taking out your time and you're also on someone else's time, if you're taking out the time to go and be seen about, make sure you're being, and you come back, that's a beautiful thing, because we love it when you come back. Because when you come back, that tells me that something that I've said to this person has stuck with them, and they took it seriously. So, and you don't want to ever be wasting your time or their time. So be honest, because now, I tell my patients, now that you step foot into in my clinic, now we're a team. You know what I'm saying? So we're a team, so we work together. I'm gonna do my part, but you also have to, it's almost like I wanna sign a contract, you know, because I need you to do your part as well. So just the honesty on both ends is what's important. You wanna be honest no matter what. Even if you mess up, if you know I've had a cheat day or whatever. That's real life. Like, nobody's looking down on you. There's no judgment. We all do it. You know, just because somebody is a provider doesn't make them perfect. So we're all human. And so just don't feel bad that you have to be honest and be like, yeah, you know, I went to Burger King a couple of times this week. Be honest. And then that way, it's easier to care for that person, because I will say I'm a listener. So I'm listening to you, because especially if my patients come in and be like, yeah, my blood pressure is the best it's been today, since in the last 3 weeks. Now I'm going to take a manual, because I'm like, wait a minute, that machine could be wrong. And we want to make sure that you're getting the proper treatment. So honesty is so important on both ends.
Yes, two sides, very much so, very true. Oh, we have more questions. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. My thing is, find a new doctor. Okay, I've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 times, but every time they take me off a medicine, put me on a different medicine. Things like that. I got cholesterol pills, and in 4 more days, me and her gonna be celebrating 34 years of marriage. So I ain't trying to do all them different blood pressure pills. So what do you recommend? I already had 4 strokes.
Well, first, congratulations for 34 years of marriage. That's amazing, very much amazing. So, did you hear the question? Okay, so the question is, you've been taking, you trying to figure out a different alternative to the medications that you're taking.
Right, what y'all was saying was find a new doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now to change to a new doctor, was starting all over with new blood pressure pills.
Okay,
All right, and
okay.
then cholesterol pills, and between them times, it's different pills that's kicking in.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying to take the one that don't work for a man.
right, so, yes. Ooh, very high. Oh, wow.
No, needs to change. Is that for a Ford doctor? So how often are you on the pills before they change it? That matters. How often are you on the pills before they change it?
How often are you taking it? A year and a half.
Okay, what are you making any changes in your life? Have you made any changes with regards to exercising? Are we exercising? No, more than that. And how often are we doing that, and for how long? An hour a day, every single day? I'm gonna say, how about what are we eating? So for example, run me through what you ate yesterday. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, everything.
Taco Bell.
So we can do Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
So if you can start from breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks between, just rundown of what you ate yesterday. Now, is there a nutritionist linked to your primary care office? Do you know, have you asked? That's the first question.
What about a cardiologist? Have you seen a cardiologist? Have you had a stress test? So how often are you following up? So my question is, were you diligent about going to your appointments? So a lot of that plays a role. So I will say when you do start with someone else, you got to keep in mind they don't know you from a can of beans. So they're gonna go, everybody has different ways of how, that how they do it. So, and how they practice. So I will tell you, like I said, those first 4 weeks, you're gonna get tried on something. They'll put you on something, and then it's always a backstory, because it's like, how long did you go without having medication for a long time? Like, we don't know your story. So, like I said, they'll try you on the medication for 4 weeks or 6 weeks maybe, have you come back, reevaluate you. They may either increase the dosage or they may add another pill to your regimen. And then you could be someone who, it could be hereditary. If it's running through your family. So a lot of times, but those numbers that you're putting out, those are way too high. I would just highly recommend whoever you're with right now, it sounds like they're trying to get you on the right path with having you keep your log, because that's important. So keeping your log with the medication, just know they will increase your medicine and they will start you on something else. If your blood pressure is not under control, they're going to have to try something else. I know it's not easy. We're in that life where everybody works so much and things of that nature, and we try to pick up something quickly. But if you have a day set aside, try to meal plan so you can have your own, and have your wife to help you with meal planning, and just make sure, because you will notice the difference. Because when I eat out in these restaurants sometimes, the salt it's just too much salt. And so you can tell the difference. So if you meal plan and she has your lunch ready, or you get your stuff ready in advance, that way, you'll have your own food, you'll know what's in it. I usually tell people to substitute as well. Like, we love flavor. So, use some of that bell pepper and onions and mushrooms, like add that for flavor. And then they have things like Accent and Mrs. Dash. Mrs. Dash has come out with all kinds of different herbal things for flavor. And once you keep doing it for a while, you're gonna get used to it, but you have to start somewhere. And I'm not saying you're gonna change overnight, but like with those numbers, you wanna make a change. Like, you really wanna make a change. And you're already telling us that you've had 4 strokes. Like, that's super serious. So you should be now seeing the cardiologist and your primary care. And then they need to be talking to each other. Everybody needs to be on the same page. So when you have that log, you take it to your primary care, but you also make sure your cardiologist gets a copy as well. Anytime you come from those appointments, they're supposed to give you that printout to kind of show you about today's visit. If they don't, just make sure you stay on top of them talking to the other one. That way everybody won't keep switching you up and putting you back and forth. But the communication between them is everything. Because now with those type of issues that you got going on, you're gonna need to check your kidneys out. You need to just make sure everything else is working well. Okay?
I have
Request a copy. You have a right to a copy of your medical record. You always want a copy of your medical record anyway. So request a copy of your medical record when you have it in your hands. That way, when you have it and they might say, oh, you got to go to this place and get your copy. Whatever it takes, get your copy. You get your copy, you make your copy, and then you make sure both of them have a copy of whatever the other one said, if it's like that.
I would definitely say advocate for yourself. You got to definitely speak up for yourself. Especially if you're going to different physicians and specialists and seeing new primaries, you definitely need to advocate. You need to speak up, say, oh, I've been on this medication before, it hasn't worked, or it's given me this side effect. With the log that your new primary has given, as Precious said, that's very good. Also being honest, right? So yesterday you had the Burger King and the Taco Bell. You need to write that in on the side as a note. Like, you put what your blood pressure was, write in as a note, this is what I have for lunch and dinner. You can also write like high level of stress at job today. You can write these on the side of the log, so therefore you can kind of track why your blood pressure might be high one day versus the next day, or what it looks like throughout the week. Writing these notes in also is really good, as a helpful thing when the provider sees, especially if they're gonna adjust your blood pressure medications.
And we said stress. I tell everybody, stress does kill you, okay? So you have to keep your stress at bay. Stress makes everything go up. Your blood pressure is going to go higher. If you have blood sugar, it's going to go higher. So you have to stay at bay. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep your stress levels to a minimum. As much as you can, okay? So that is so important that you find your woosah, okay? You find your calm, because that's super important. And you don't even look that old, so I really would say stay with the person that you're with for now. Continuity is important as well. So staying with the same person and give them a shot and see how that goes, at least for the first 6 months, okay? And see how that goes in between them working together. Then just be a little and be receptive, because they're trying to help you. So be receptive, and you know, you're a part of the team. So if you feel a certain way, like she said, advocate for yourself. Tell them how you feel about that. You know, let them know. And you need a food diary. So you need the food diary. You can go on Google and download you a free food diary and start tracking your food and be honest about what you are eating. And the reason why a lot of times we want you to do those diaries, not only for our knowledge, but it's for yours. So you can look and see, man, I shouldn't have ate that today, man. I know I could have, you know, I should have ate a piece of fruit or something else. So that way you can hold yourself accountable, right? Because you don't want nobody to keep doing this. You did this and you did that. Hold yourself accountable. And when you're real with yourself, you know, people say they keep it 100 all the time, but keep it 100 with yourself first. And then, you know, and then you'll see the change. You'll see the change.
A lot of helpful stuff. Dr. Maxine had a question, and then passing.
One thing that I've noticed that helps people is being organized, right? So especially now, everybody has phones. You can have a list of your medications, have a list of all your diagnoses. I think this makes it easier. So even when you go to a different doctor, you have everything on your phone. Even when you go to the emergency room, it makes it easier to show, like, hey, this is what my meds are, this is what, and it makes you just more aware of all the things that has happened to you. And now they have a lot of electronic medical records, my chart. So when you go to your doctor, even if they don't print it out for you and you sign up, you can know like what test was ordered. You can even see the results yourself, even sometimes before the doctor gets the results. So you're able to stay on top of things. And I think that's what also means being an advocate for yourself. Like when you're aware of your own health, because no one is going to care about my health than me, right? So even if they're a provider, no matter how much they're trying to help you, so you have to take it upon yourself to be diligent with making sure you know what's going on with yourself, what you're supposed to do, and things of that nature. And then the second thing I had to say was, I think I forgot my question. I forgot what I was going to say. But, yeah, I forgot. But I think it was kind of based on what they were saying in terms of just being honest with ourselves and things of that nature. So, yeah, but that's my little tip.
I have a comment as well as a question. My comment is that most of the time we go out to eat or we go to fast food restaurants to eat, we have to understand that they do not have our best interest at heart. They are there to make money. So when you buy from them, they make more money. And the ingredients that they put in their food is not there to make you healthy. They make sure they buy the cheapest the cheapest ingredients so that they can make more money when they make the food. So like Miss Precious said, if you cook your own food, you know what you put in it. You know the ingredients that you bought to make your food. So you're very blessed. You have a beautiful wife. You guys sit down and talk about it and work together. You know, I spoke to my husband and I said, we want to see our children graduate and have them have children and so forth. So what choices are we going to make now with what we put in our body so that we can be healthy even as grown people? And so we talked about that, and then we decided that we're going to change the way we live, the way we eat, so that we can sustain our body. Like Miss Precious said, it's like a car. When you first buy a brand new car, it works really well, right? But you also have to understand that you have to bring the car for its checkups. I call it checkup, right? You gotta maintain it. You gotta do your oil change and change plugs and all that, so the car can run for you. That's how our body works. But unfortunately, when a car breaks down, you can replace it. But when a human breaks down, it's not replaceable. So what can we do to maintain the body that God has given us so that it can continue to work for us? That includes putting the right fuel in our body, and the fuel is food. So you want to make sure that you're picking the right things for your body so your body can work really well, like the way God has created it to work. Thank you. And my question to you all is, what role does alcohol and smoking play in these ailments?
So with smoking, cigarettes, black mouths, cigars, all that, right? Essentially, well, yeah. It's the main ingredient in an actual what's in cigarette, the nicotine. It's nicotine, right? This nicotine, what we're talking about, the addictive factor, that is what causes people's blood pressures to go up, right? So that's what's in hookah, black mouths, all that stuff. It's as nicotine, right? So therefore, what that does on a scientific cellular level, right? It basically makes our vessels much more smaller, right? So we start here and now we're here. So same thing, right? Just your vessel going from this wide to this wide is gonna cause your pressure to go up. If you have high cholesterol, right? Same thing we discussed with the plaques. If you have high cholesterol in this wide plaque, now that it's more smaller, it makes the space of the blood going through even smaller. High blood pressure, right? And then if you have what we call turbulent blood flow, right? That's what can cause the plaques to break off. Essentially, you can having a clot that's now floating around your body, right? So that's the main thing. When you smoke any kind of nicotine-based cigar or cigarette or hookah or anything like that can do.
Oh, alcohol. What does alcohol do to the body when you partake in it?
Yeah, it does a lot. So alcohol breaks down into simple sugars. So when you have diabetes, it can make your sugar go up, right? Also with time, if you drink too much alcohol, it kills your liver, okay? And so your liver is what makes your red blood cells. So it's a big deal. So alcohol does play, you gotta think about it. Alcohol, they tell you percentages, right? So that's pretty much how much that is kind of beating your body up, So it's like taking, in a sense, it might be good, but it's like taking a little toxin. So, and too much of it can cause problems. So, so too much alcohol, like I said, it messes with your liver. It can also affect your kidneys as well. So when you think about it, those are your filters, right? So when we do take in things that our body doesn't need and needs to get rid of, that's where it goes through. It's filtered through our kidneys, it's filtered through our liver. And like even with the smoking, she was talking about the constriction, like it, makes the vessels smaller, then that, has that negative effect on your lungs. So if you know somebody who's a chronic smoker, they have this nasty little cough that, in the morning they wake up with a cough, in the afternoon, all day, they have this cough. Because over time, it just, over time, everything kind of goes down anyway, right? So we lose the elasticity in our skin, we lose a lot of things. That's the reason why we tell you to exercise and things like that, because you want to try to keep as much muscle and things of that nature. You want to kind of keep yourself built up as much as you can, because with time, as we age, things it's not going to work the same in your 40s as it did in your 20s. So, so those two things can definitely, they can cause some negativity, especially when you do it over a long period of time.
So smoking is definitely a no-no. Even vaping, I know some young kids vape now. That's also a no-no. For alcohol, the recommendation is no more than 2 drinks at a time for females, and no more than 3 drinks at a time for males. So per week, it is no more than 7 per week for females and no more than 14, just to give people like a good guideline. So not more than that.
And you know, a lot of people drink a lot of mixed drinks as well. You know, sometimes it tastes very sweet and they'll keep drinking it and drinking and drinking it. So you said, say the numbers again so that way everybody knows.
So for women, it's no more than 2 drinks at a time, okay, per day. And then per week for women is not more than 7 drinks per week. For males, it is no more than 3 drinks at a time and per day, and then per week is no more than 14. So if you do the math, obviously it kind of shows you should not be drinking that every single day. So, yeah, but that's the recommendation as well, because some people always ask me, well, what is the recommended amount, and that's it.
That goes for the wine drinkers as well, all the wine drinkers. Yes, Pastor, you had a question in the back.
I have a question that's out of the box. In an ideal world, you have patients who comply with all of your instructions. Have you, any one of you, ever had a patient that you had to say, enough, I can't be your MD or your nurse anymore because you're not following my instructions, you're not doing what I ask you to do, you're not taking your medication. So what do you do when you have a patient like that who is stubborn and then maybe is not truthful with what they're really doing? Have you ever had to drop somebody from your care?
So I work at Gen Care in Morris, the senior center. So I work with Medicare Advantage patients, 65 and up. We are encouraged not to drop patients. So we got to figure out why. So we see our patients very often. By very often, if I need to see you every day, I will. Because we got to get to the bottom of what is going on. Why are we stubborn? Is it a side effect? Is it that you don't trust me? I'm not a good fit for you? Is something going on at home? So we have case managers that actually help us as well go into the home because there's something going on. It doesn't make sense for someone just to be stubborn, There has to be something else. They might be going through some abuse at home. I'm not sure. They might not just click with me as a provider, and that happens, and that's okay. They might need to switch, but you really need to get to the bottom of why. And so it's important to build trust. That's the biggest thing. You gotta build trust with your patients. You know, so I care about you. I'm here for you. Tell me what's going on. I talk to them like that. I care for you the same way I would care for my mom, my dad. So I want to help you, but you gotta help me help you. I can't do it by myself. As Special says, we are a team. So you have to do your part. If something is going on, please let me know. I'm here to help you, I promise. That's why I'm in medicine, honestly. And so usually through that, being honest with them, and usually they're able to help me out, help me help them out. And a lot of times, case managers can also help us as well, social workers. But a lot of times there's other things going on. It's not just that patients don't want to do it. There's always a reason why. So you got to just listen to them and meet them where they're at. And hopefully, I've had a lot of patients that, you know, they've had maybe side effects or maybe they don't trust the system. And so through time, I see them every day sometimes. I have to, in order to build that trust. They're like, okay, you know what, I do trust you. What do you think about this? I'm like, okay, well, we're making some progress. But sometimes it does take time, and that's okay.
I have a question based off what he said about going to Burger King and Taco Bell because, you know, his wife wasn't home. Is there anything healthy that is quick? So if somebody has the urge to go get fast food, what should they buy instead? Like maybe they can hop in Kroger and pick something up. Is there anything healthy that's packaged?
I don't know anything healthy at Burger King or Taco Bell. I don't know anything.
Those two choices of restaurants, no.
Yeah.
You know, like when you have those not even to say all those vegan places. Like, you know, sometimes people nowadays, like I said, people just smack and say this is organic and all those things and stuff like that because it sells, right? And so I'm not gonna lie, the best thing is what you have, you know, because you know what was in it, you know where it came from. Because at the end of the day, like she said, people are trying to make a sale. And so I don't know. I can't, unless I'm there to see that they got it from this place and that, I don't know. They could tell me what they want because they need the sale. So you are your advocate. So it's better, you know, even when you're making your kids, my kids take their lunch to school. At least I know what they have, you know, and where it's coming from. So yeah, that's kind of hard to say.
And if you're gonna get fast food, yeah, your healthiest option is a salad. Yeah, that's just what it is.
But ladies, what if you can't cook? What if you can't cook? What do we do there?
I was also gonna say, I mean, we have social media. I mean, social media is, YouTube, social media is so rampant. Like, if you need a recipe, a quick recipe, Google, like, 10-minute recipe. We're in a new age. There should not be any excuse, to be honest.
I do TikTok 30-minute meals all the time.
Sure was to find something.
Yeah.
There's no excuse at this point. There's basically no excuse. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
So, outside of being more flexible, how is stretching beneficial to
Stretching as a form of how beneficial is stretching?
Shoot, that's everything. Look, that stretching every day is everything. I thought I took a yoga class, right? And I was like, oh, this is so easy. I'm just stretching all over the place. And then the next day, I felt like I had been in a train wreck because I hadn't been stretching like I should have been. But stretching is everything. So if you talk to more elderly people, they talk about the stretching and stuff because as you get older, your joints, you know, they get stiffer and things of that nature. So, yeah, stretch every day.
So you recommend stretching and cardio?
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
I would say if you're gonna do some form of cardio, you should be stretching after. Yeah. What's that? After that muscle's warmed up.
And then just one question about I have high cholesterol, but I'm addicted to help me to say, I mean, how dangerous? Because they're like all different brands now. I mean, and they have the little ones, you know, you at the cash register. I'm having an issue with Cheetos.
But at that point, it's gonna have to be a little bit of self-control, or you're gonna have to, when you buy a bag, you might have to get the little mini bags and put all the Cheetos and separate. Because as I said, everything is realistic, right? Even when my patients tell me what they like to eat, I'm gonna be like, you have to cut it off because, like, they're gonna relapse. Like, no offense, like I know that. So therefore, I need to tell you to do something that's achievable and attainable for you to do. So if you are prepping your snacks, putting it in those half Ziploc bags or something, and instead of a whole bag in your bag for a work snack, you're gonna have to do, and that will be it. Because sometimes some people think sugar is, there's an addictive factor to sugar as well, right? And same thing, like you'll go through a craving, like you need that, but for the most part, you don't actually need a whole bag. Like sometimes if you just have a little bit just for that satisfaction, like you're okay. So when I say if you portion out what you eat, ideally, like if you cannot if you're meal prepping, right? Obviously, like try to do like your fruits as a sweet option. If you want something a little bit salty, you might do like pretzels and peanut butter, something if you may. But if you're buying Cheetos, that's your thing. I would definitely say, like separate it, make it into small. Yeah, put a couple in the bag because the serving size is actually on the back of the bag, which you never actually look at, and we end up eating the whole bag. Whereas the bag itself is probably like 6 to 8 serving size, and you're eating the whole thing. So ideally, you should be portioning it out a little bit, so therefore you're not eating the whole thing.
I like that.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Please do not be afraid to ask questions. You have 3 amazing medical professionals here that are willing to answer any of your questions. So, yes, go ahead.
Can too much weight cause any of these? Gaining too much weight.
Can too much meat cause obesity? Obesity.
Weight or weight?
Oh.
Much weight.
Okay. Like being overweight, can it cause? Say the question one more time. Oh yeah, okay. Weight. How does weight factor in obesity or high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes? How does weight factor in all of that as well? Like being overweight.
Being overweight plays a significant factor for all three, right? When you're overweight, it's also harder for you to for your body to recognize insulin, so therefore you can be diabetic. Overweight, cholesterol. If you're overweight, most likely you're eating, high fatty, high fried foods, getting high cholesterol. That also can affect your blood pressure when you're putting on more weight. Your circulation, that's part of your blood pressure, right? Your body now has more weight on a certain frame, so therefore your body's working harder now, so therefore that can also cause high blood pressure. So all of it plays into like the logistics of your body and how it's moving. As I said, your body's a machine. That's really how it is. Like you have to try to keep it as highly operational as possible, AKA not being super overweight or anything like that.
Being obese it causes people start having knee pain, back pain. It's a lot of different things. So if you're having those pains, then they're less likely to want to exercise. And then you're more likely to want to eat more. So it's not good. It's just, you just want to eat more, you don't want to do nothing else. So it makes us a lot more sluggish, so.
Yeah. All right. We are at time. Okay, this is very quick, very quick.
So I think depression a lot of times can affect, what we eat. That's pretty much the biggest thing. And so you might just go on outside of meal prepping, you might just go on out and eat whatever is at a fast food place. And then that can in turn cause you to have hyperlipidemia, can cause you to have all these other risk factors like heart disease as well. And so that's why it's important again to go see your primary care provider and build that relationship with them so that they can be able to diagnose you with that and give you the appropriate treatment. Because we don't want you to be suicidal. There's so many things that can come with depression aside from just, essentially not eating the right way and then having high blood pressure and in turn also having high cholesterol. So depression is bad. So that's definitely why it's important to follow up with your primary care.
Yes. All right. Thank you all for asking the questions. Can we give a round of applause to each other and the panelists? This has been amazing. So we're now going to transition to the next part of our program, and we'll be wrapping up very shortly. Thank you, ladies, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, we will now have Pastor Bernadine come to the stage.
You have the list.
Can we take one more question or no?
Thank you so much for that wealth of information that you have given to us today. And I know you and I are here because we're concerned about living right, staying healthy. Amen? Let's have another round of applause. So what happened today is that the medical personnel that were here, what they did, they imparted information to us that focus on raising awareness on diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. And so they also discussed some of the risk factors that are involved in these illnesses. And they gave us some information regarding preventative measures that you and I can employ in our own lives so we can stay healthy. And so that information will also help us to better manage our health so we can stay healthy and live long as Pastor Nana said, we want to see our kids grow up and not only graduate from college, but to see them have children. We want to enjoy our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. And so with that being said, we're very grateful to you, and this is our first ever health fair, and we're looking forward to having these on a yearly basis. And so now what we're going to do next is we're going to invite the vendors to come up and have a short, they may have a short message for you. And after they are finished, we're going to move to the fellowship hall, where we're going to do screenings. And then we also have some free gifts. And those vendors that we have present here today are one vendor I know is midwifery. One is from Pfizer, and the other one is from Peach Care Insurance, I think. So we're gonna welcome them one by one. As they come, they're gonna state their name and tell us what they're all about. Welcome.
Hello, can you all hear me okay? So my name is Sheila Simpson, and I am with Peach State Health Insurance. We are independent agents, so we're contracted with the different carriers. So for the under 65, it's known as the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. We're contracted with Ambetter, Cigna, Oscar, the different carriers. And sometimes people get a bad reputation with Obamacare because they're not in the correct plan, meaning they may have a plan that they have to meet their deductible before anything is paid out. So it's good to work with a local agent versus calling a 1-800 number to be able to, answer your questions, make sure you're in the right plan. And then as well as with people when they turn 65, then they get into Medicare. And Medicare can be very confusing because you have all of these different options and you don't know which way to go. So we're working with an agent that's not with one carrier, you're able to kind of sit down and see, well, is Aetna really a good option, or should I go with Humana, or should I go with Cigna, or should I go with Kaiser? So it's kind of just sitting down and making sure that it's a good fit for the individuals. And that's what I do. And life insurance as well. I can. If they meet a special election enrollment period, so for the under 65, you have to meet certain criteria, but I can go over all of that. And if you're able to, then you can sign up today and coverage will start as soon as July 1st.
Well, I didn't know I was going to be on stage, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I am Dr. Yvette White. I work with a healthcare company called Inside Edge Consulting. We're actually doing a project for Pfizer. We work a lot in the background with pharmaceutical companies, but it's a Black-owned organization. It's been in operation for 20 years, and we are focused on eliminating disparity in healthcare. So we partner with churches and community organizations. We bring education material and program to the community based on diseases that affect us the most. So for example, I will be working on a sickle cell project coming soon. So we will be looking at the population that's most affected by sickle cell, which is us. So that's basically what we're doing. Today I'm here with Pfizer Link. Pfizer is testing to see how willing people are to use a phone scan to learn more about clinical trials. So if you scanned a flyer I have outside, it gives you an opportunity to get more information about clinical trials. We sometimes have a bad rap about clinical trials only because we have reason to, but education is the key. Every drug, every device that's in the pharmacy had to go through a clinical trial. So when you have a headache or you have some pain, you're actually going to, to use a product that's a byproduct of the clinical trial. So we encourage you to learn more, to trust more. I was listening to the young man that was having an issue with medication, that nothing is not working. One reason could be that a lot of us do not participate in clinical trials, so the tests are not done on us, so the medicine is not for us. So it's a big issue. A clinical trial, I'll say last, does not mean that you're always taking an investigational drug, something that we're testing. The device that you use, it can be therapy. So it's not just taking medicine, it could be blood. That could be a clinical trial as well. So I'd just say get educated, ask questions, and hopefully we'll start participating more so that the drugs that are out there will work for us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Christine Taylor. I am a certified nurse midwife and owner of Birth by Grace Midwifery Services in Tyrone, Georgia. I am so blessed to have Pastor Nana as my sister. You know, we have known each other for 10 years now. It's been a decade since I relocated to Chicago as a midwife and we worked together. And I was also the second midwife at her home births. So, and Dr. Maxine, I've also been able to take care of her during her pregnancies as well. But we offer home birth services and holistic birth services to moms who are interested in that type of care. It's a holistic approach to childbirth and education and prenatal care. Our goal is to equip moms with the knowledge and education they need to navigate their pregnancies and navigate their time at the hospital when they give birth as well. Because we all know and have heard all of the horrible rates and statistics surrounding Black women in birth in Georgia. And so we are in many different spaces, and we also provide classes and doula support and anything that moms need to feel secure and safe during their pregnancies. We have a very nurturing environment. Moms can come in and just kick their shoes off and have a good time during their prenatal care. There's no long lines waiting, and you're not treated as a number or just another person coming in with a belly, right? So that's what we do in Tyrone. We are primarily on the south side, but we service Metro Atlanta. And we have many different options for all budgets and everyone who, you know, and all birth plans. So that's who we are, and if you're interested or want to talk more, we are set up outside as well to talk more to you.
All right, thank you guys so much. I hope that we all learned something today, you know, and how we can just improve our health. I just want to thank all the panelists. Thank you guys for coming out and spending your time with us and then sharing so much insights of how we can take better care of ourselves. Thank you guys for the vendors for coming out here as well, just to let us know about what you guys are doing. So as I said, yeah, well, medical legally. So we have to be, it's not like a consulting thing, but I guess for more so information or educational, in terms for information or educational perspective, you can have a conversation with the speakers, but they can't give you medical advice because of medical legal issues, you know? So that's why it's important to get your primary care physician so you can have these conversations and get medical advice from your primary care physician. So as we are wrapping up, as I said, you can go into the foyer, go speak with the vendors, learn more about what they're doing, and then also in the fellowship hall in the back, we're going to be doing blood pressure screenings as well as blood glucose monitoring. And this is just to give you some information so you can take it back to your primary care physician. And then we also have some sheets, some fun facts about hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, and also another sheet with clinics around here, at least to get you started. So we can all make our way to the back, and thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.